So we are here doing a starting steps video here for Prussia in patch 1.5, the open beta, which of course is why we do not have fully updated art assets and the such. You know, there's kind of several things we're going to be talking about here. Previously, you used to be able to form Mega Germany by just joining a war on Austria's side. Now you can no longer do that. However, you can reverse sway Austria to get an obligation to maybe get them into your market, or maybe be able to try and form Germany this way. So one thing we're going to be focused on this run is trying to form Mega Germany for the whole shebang, all of the German states. We are also going to be discussing local prices quite a bit, and focusing a little bit on Silesia, which is a rainbow state having all of the resources kind of available. It's one of the strongest states in the game, and it's even stronger now, now that patch point 1.5 is going to, local prices will be effective, and so having resources condensed rather than spread out is more valuable. And finally, we are going to have focus a little bit on companies here, because currently in the game only Prussia rather has a unique company, and they have two in Krupp and Rheinmetall. And so we will be talking about companies, what the strategy looks like right now, what the strategy probably is going to be moving forward, because there's going to be some changes. We see that profit of course intensifies, and so this is what we'll be focusing on. We'll be focusing less on the military specifically, because this seems incredibly buggy right now. You can't add artillery, there aren't numbers for things, this sort of stuff, and so the military will be a little bit in the background. And then we're also going to just generally talk about what strategies might look good for Prussia specifically, expansion, and then this sort of thing, how we're spending our resources, you know, the usual sort of starting steps features that we kind of talk about during these videos. Alright, first up, we're going to discuss spending all of our authority and our Diplo. Now, you want to make sure with Prussia specifically, you don't miss the fact that you actually start off bolstering the evangelical church. We don't want to be on that, so we're going to rake that one back and instead stop bolstering, which will give us 950 authority to work with. Now, our strategy is going to kind of be based around building Tall and Silesia here, so we're going to put down a decree for encourage road maintenance for Silesia, and we're also going to put one down in Brandenburg. Now, where the strategy has changed, I think, from 1.4 is previously we would have wanted to put resource industry down here, and then maybe manufacturing down in Brandenburg, but now you want to build Tall in one state, so we will settle for just having the road maintenance on both of these. For the rest of our authority, we are going to bolster the Industrialists. We would like to get them above 20% so that we could get engines of progress to 20% research speed, and also job creators to 20% research speed. To a lesser extent, we also would want these bonuses for the Intelligentsia, but at least at the very beginning, I think we will want to kind of have more taxes. Now, the taxes that are good might have changed a little bit, you know, from the last patch, because the consumption rates are a little bit different, but we're going to put in on luxuries and sin taxes, and then when we have this plus 51, we can up this a little bit more in order to get onto a little bit more, and then rake this back down. Now, generally speaking, you want military wages high, because the bonuses you get from them are quite strong, so we're just going to put that up so we don't forget, and that's kind of our authority and our balance. We will want to up taxes to very high level. I think in 1.5, with the new changes to how loyalists and radicals work, it is perhaps the case that floating plus 5 for very high taxes throughout the game, especially in the early game, might not be as strong as it was, but I'm still fairly confident that you want to use all of this to construct as much as possible. So we are extracting a ton of money with consumption taxes and also a high tax rate, and this slows down our economy, but what we will be doing is we will be re-injecting the money back into the economy, utilizing, you know, our construction, which is generally speaking the most efficient form of stimulus, although it has been significantly nerfed. Almost everything is costs from 33% to 80%, 80-ish percent more construction here in 1.5. So there will be an economic slowdown for that, and there will be economic slowdown for local prices. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about influence. So in particular, with Prussia, we want to long-term We want to get a lot of these guys into our customs union, improve relations with them, and we also want to improve relations with Austria so we can get the big mega Germany. So we're actually going to cancel our rivalry with them, we would not mind rivaling the Ottoman Empire, and we don't really mind rivaling two Sicilies, not expecting them to be too much of a problem, although if they form Italy, they might be able to put a thumb in our pie. And now we're going to improve relations with all the German miners, looking to pull them into our customs union over time, but not spending on a bankroll. We're going to start with kind of the southernmost, and we're going to look to just improve relations. We're actually going to rake back a couple of these and improve relations with Austria as well, looking to get them out of the rival status, because eventually we will want them on our side, and this is kind of how we're spending our resources here at the very start. Next up, we're going to talk about companies. Now, companies are a new feature introduced in 1.5, and these are all very likely to change, but the two very significant things are going to be the company throughput bonus, which you get a throughput on all of these buildings that are part of the company. So if we use Krupp, we will get iron mines, coal mines, and steel mills throughput, and it's important to emphasize, man oh man, is throughput really strong in the early game. The less you have of throughput, the more a percentage it actually increases your building by. For example, if we have 50% throughput currently and we add 20%, or let's say we add 30%, that for us represents that increase from 50% throughput to 80% throughput represents a 20% increase. However, if at the start of the game we have 100 throughput, we have 0 throughput, and we add 30% throughput, that represents a 30% increase rather than a 20% increase. So additional throughput has diminishing marginal returns. So this makes companies out the gate really strong. Also, the increased construction bonus. So when we are building these buildings, we will be able to build them faster, and this to some extent helps to make up for the fact that you have decreased construction speed. Now, companies are very likely to change. We are likely to see the bonuses get stronger, and currently what the metagame is, currently how you should play, and this is not how we're going to play for this run, but currently what you do is whatever you're building, you just swap that in and out, right? You are just going to be very aggressive about swapping in and out because you are looking to get the construction bonus more than anything, and so what you will do is you will be like, I want to build a flight of mines, and so you add this, for the construction bonus, and then you swap it out, and then you once you finish building all the mines, and then you're like, okay, I want to build textiles now, you swap in the textile company. This is currently what's strong. They're almost certainly going to nerf it so that this is no longer effective, whether it's a ramp-up effect or like an interest-group malice, creation of radicals, something like this. There's going to be some mechanic that helps to disincentivize. So we are going to put in our unique company with Krupp, which is very, very strong, which gives coal mines, iron mines, and steel. Now this is going to help all three of these with vertical integration together, which is going to be quite strong. So we're going to establish Krupp, and we have another company slot currently. And in the very, very early game, wood is extremely strong, so I think we're going to go for the United Forestry Conglomerate, but also the Metal Mining Consortium would also be pretty strong because we are going to be in the iron mines relatively early, and this does give steel mines a building throughput eventually. But for now, I think we're just going to take the one that's going to give us some infrastructure and also going to give us throughput on wood, which is very, very, very strong in the early game, especially before we get on to condensing pump engine, or sorry, water tube boiler, which has condensing pump engine, and so we are going to put in on that. Notably, if you have two of these, we can show this real quick. If you have two of these that both have iron, because Krupp has iron, and also we have down here, the Metal Mining Consortium has iron. If we do that, we will actually trend towards not double bonus on the throughput, but 150% bonus from the competing companies. But still, 30% throughput is quite a big gain, but we will not use that for now. That will likely be our third company, but for now, or we will swap off once we have fully exploited a lot of the wood, but right now we will just have these as our companies here, the United Forestry Conglomerate, the unique one of Krupp. This 15% rail building throughput is incredibly nice, on top of getting the throughput on the coal and the iron, which is really nice, and the steel. I think that this is probably one of the better companies in the game. game. I think Rheinmetall, it's a difficult one to evaluate because these industries generally are not very good, although they have been buffed, and so being able to build them faster is not that useful because you don't build a lot of them, but plus 10% army offense and defense is reasonable. These are the two unique companies for Prussia. So this will be our strategy, and we will be building tall with these companies. So in order to explain our construction strategy, we need to talk about local prices now. So this is a major change in patch 1.5, and we have actually moved our edict for our construction speed, which is the main reason for putting down road maintenance at this point, the 10% state construction efficiency. We moved it to Westphalia. So we have Westphalia and Silesia. And the reason for both of these is both of these are what I like to call rainbow states, is they have a lot of different resources. Westphalia is not quite as good as Silesia, because Silesia also has lead, but Westphalia has a higher logging camp level. And so what's significant about these states is what you want to do now is there is a local price mechanic, and if we come in here, that makes 15% of your price, or this is your MAPI, your market access price impact modifier. The higher the MAPI, the more your price is informed by market price rather than local price. Whenever it is informed by local price, this is bad for you. So for example, if we are mining metal or iron in Silesia and then using it in Berlin somewhere, like let's say the arms industries, what will happen is the local price of this iron will get depressed towards minus 75% if we're overproducing it, and the local price here will get trend towards plus 75%. And this is significant because the local prices and the market price, 85% is determined on local price, and 15% is determined, 85% is determined on market price, and 15% is determined on local price. And so 15% of that for where we are producing a glut of iron is going to be, trending towards minus 75%. So our iron mines get to be less profitable because their output is iron, and they sell their output, and this is how, their balance is determined. Here, we got to get to our buildings here in a sec. And so our weekly balance is the sell orders of these goods minus the input costs. And so when the orders sell for less, value is effectively destroyed or never gained. And it's the same thing with Berlin, with the other end of the thing. We have a negative weekly balance here if these goods are more expensive because they don't have local, supply orders. And the way you avoid these two malices is if the buy and sell orders are in the same state as they are here, for example, with the arms industries. Instead, what the price will be is it will not trend towards this plus or minus 75, and it'll be closer to the local price. And so the iron mine will having more local buy orders will trend up towards a higher buy or a higher sell price, and so they'll be more profitable. And the having more local sell orders of iron will also decrease the equilibrium away from minus 75, which will make this building more profitable because the input costs will be less, and the balance is the outputs minus the inputs. And so this will kind of help for this thing. So why is it important to have Silesia and Westphalia as the two places we're focusing? Well, the chains of things are going to be such that you want to have different resources. So for example, our coal mines, in particular, the construction is really important. Construction uses several different resources. We are on iron frame construction, and we see that we have tools, wood, and iron. So we want to be able to produce tools, wood, and iron in a province where we have a lot of construction, which notably, this construction is going to give us state construction efficiency as well. Not as much as last patch, but it's still going to give it to us. We want to produce iron here, and then the iron is going to be more profitable if locally we have tools, right? Because the tools price will be buoyed up, it will be decreased relative to if we were supplying tools from somewhere else, and also same with the coal, and so this will be better. And also when we're selling the coal, the sell orders will also be higher than they would if they were being shipped somewhere else. And so we get to have our cake and eat it too, and avoid what is effectively a malice that you are getting from this MAPI modifier of local goods prices. And it's important to have all the different industries because eventually we're going to want sole sulfur for the explosives industries, right? Because they feed into the sulfur explosives industries. We're going to want lead for glass when we get on steel frame buildings and all this sorts of things. But the three very important to have all together is iron, coal, and logging camps, because this allows you to feed the entire loop for steel and iron tools in the early game, right? Steel is going to be using coal and iron. The tools are going to be using wood and steel, and this entire loop gets fed. What we are lacking, in fact, is going to be the livestock or the production of fabric, and we are just going to tolerate that we are going to be paying more for fabric than the market price, because the local price for fabric will become inflated over time. But this is the idea behind building in these two places specifically, is that they have the best looking rainbow states. You know, there isn't a lot of other states that have, like, this one is okay, it has coal and iron, this is somewhat decent. You know, we see coal and iron, we see this one doesn't have iron, and in particular we want to ramp up construction where we can pay less for it. Also, all these goods, by having a lot of sell orders, it will be cheaper in these places to add construction sectors. Before, what the heuristic was for where you add the construction sectors, they all had the same upkeep, and where you would want to add them was where you wanted to stay construction efficiency. Now where you want to add them is where they have the least upkeep. We don't have the least upkeep yet in Silesia, but we're going to get it there. But you see Pomerania, you have to pay less, and it has to do with the prices for all these goods. You could see it's going to show you the variance in these prices, and so you're going to want to, you know, focus in an area where you can build an entirely local economy in the early game, especially before you get to increase MAPI. So this is the whole strategy, kind of tried to make it like quickly explained. But this is the strategy as to why we're going to be building in these two states specifically. We will, of course, want to get this university up to level 5 for our event chain, though, for the philosophy department's unique kind of thing, and so we will fairly early on crank that up to level 5 as well. Now, for diplomacy, we're actually not going to declare any wars in German proper, and I think that this is a very important detail to kind of articulate as part of the forming Germany strategy. If we declare a war on, let's say, Puppet Hanover, or Dominion Hanover, by the way, what will happen is that, here, let's get the other tab. What will happen is we will get this right here, where we get some amount of infamy, and in this we will reduce our relations by -6 with all of these German miners here, which will make it much harder for us, because they have an interest in the strategic region, to pull them into our customs union. So we want to declare no wars in this region. Now, we're not going to be overly focused on war for this run, but as far as diplomacy goes, we can see in terms of declare interests, we have 3 ideas for expansion. 1, we're going to go for Brunei for the gold and also resources. 2, we're going to go for South America. And 3, Peru, Bolivia is just about the best expansion spot. Currently, at the time of recording, they haven't nerfed rice farms yet. I'm expecting to see them nerfed, but also eventually when we annex Peru, Bolivia, so Bolivia will get Peru. So when we dominion Bolivia, we will effectively pay less infamy for this to go down. But on top of this, you know, when we annex them, they have rice farms, and these rice farms are just absolutely obscene, because they have double the employment level. You can see 8,000 laborers. This is not normal. They have double the employment level currently, and basically everything got doubled except for the construction costs. So now it's kind of like 2 buildings for the price of 1, and so we want to source all of our grain from rice in particular, although we do have to worry about having enough laborers for this, but this is going to be part of our strategy, and so we are going to go for Peru, Bolivia, South Africa, and Brunei as kind of our primary expansion spots. And we also might take, in order to get more rice, we might take provinces kind of in southern China, which is a little bit of a new one, because the northern Chinese provinces will tend to have wheat rather than rice in their things, but they will still have rice subsistence farms, which is a little bit big sad for them, because these guys employ 10,000 pops, so anytime you build any agriculture over it, It fires 10,000 pops. The agriculture only hires, 5,000 pops minus any pops that are lost to labor-saving PMs, and so generally you create really large unemployment. So that's kind of those things in terms of diplomacy. What we're going to do now is actually wait a tick, and we will see we get the German national identity, which is part of confederating. We have to research the nationalism technology, and we have to get all these people to like us, and then we have to handle the Schleswig-Holstein question, which involves us kind of getting these under German control. We can release both of them, we can just take one, either of these will work, and this is going to be kind of the only war we declare in this area-ish. As far as this goes, and we have also on pause because we wanted to wait for an initial tick. We have to wait for the first tick. We are researching our condensing pump engines, but we are going to wait for a single tick. That way we know what is natural spreading. That way we are going to make a decision on what we research based on what is natural spreading. Is it just bugged out? Hold the phone here. Why is it not telling us what we nat spread here? Or are we just natural? Oh, we're just super ahead on tech. I forgot. Okay, so we're going to go for water tube boiler first, followed by nationalism, so we can get going on forming the North German Federation. We need to get higher relations with a lot of people anyways first, and so we're going to be working on that as well. To that end, maybe let's just double check and see if are there any rivals we maybe want to form. I think we're going to lay off of Spain right now. The AI is a little bit psychotic, and Spain has interest in a lot of regions that we want to do stuff in, and so we'll just not kind of go after them for now, but perhaps a more min-maxy strategy involves, improving relations, or rivaling them so you can improve relations with more German miners. We get the classic 1.5 kind of beta release of Puritani clapping Brazil at the very start. Alright, so Peru, Bolivia just backed down to us, and so we should be able to go in the trade land, see that they're in the Prussian market, and now they're a nice Prussian blue, but also notably, we have finished 5 construction sectors in Silesia and 5 construction sectors in Westphalia, and now we should be able to see a rather inflated local price for the goods that these construction sectors are buying, which of course makes the construction sectors more expensive. We see that is considerably above our market price, same with wood, but what this gives us is good opportunities for profitable buildings in terms of both iron and wood logging here, and also iron and logging here, and so we are starting to spin the revolutions of having really profitable buildings just in these 2 areas, and this is where we're focused. Notably, like if we take a look in the resource industries here and we sort by earnings, we will see that Silesia will have the most profitable iron mines because the price of iron is higher, right? We see plus 1.35k for selling this iron. We see plus 1.5 for that. Interesting. Is it less of an input cost for the other stuff? Oh, Silesia. That's... Huh. Okay, it has bigger predicted earnings per week. That's a little interesting. Maybe this calculation is being done after this other iron mine is constructed, something like this. The iron price should be significantly high. Ruhr Valley also has an expensive iron price as well, though, and this would be very profitable, but down the chain, what we want to do is we want to focus on building, everything in Silesia and Westphalia, although Ruhr is going to be kind of a third place that's going to be relatively good, and yeah, this is driving up the buy orders specifically, for iron, such that it is expensive here, which allows the iron to be profitable, but we are going to focus in Westphalia and Silesia first. Also, very notably, we are now in this phase where we're going to be building wood and iron, and following that, those require inputs for tools. Then we'll be building tools. To be fair, we don't have a bonus for tools, but we are getting extra construction speed and throughput on the wood and the iron, and then we're going to need coal in order to get the condensing pump engines for the iron, and then we're going to need steel for the tools, and so the entire construction loop is being supported and propped up by our companies here as we start the run here as Prussia, which notably is partially on the back of Krupp, which is the only industry, the only company in the game currently. There will be more in a couple weeks, but this is the only one that is giving us both coal mines and iron mines. The only two industries that would be better paired together at the very start of the game would be iron and wood. And so this will allow us to have a pretty nice start here. We are losing money, but we are going to build some profitable industries here until we make the construction cheaper there, and or make enough money that we can afford to build more construction. But we have 5 construction sectors in each, and we're off and away. Alright, we are still kind of at the opening steps of the game, and we haven't adjusted our PMs yet, so we're going to flip up some of our PMs, notably craftsman sewing. We are going to have a harder time getting silk at a cheaper price as a result of the local price effect, because whenever it's coming into our market, that price, that lower depressed price from the market, from the trade import, is going to only inform 85% of the price, and wherever we're consuming silk, everything will be pulled at least 15% of it plus towards a plus 75 price, since we have no local silk production. However, the PM is a lot better, and so we're going to switch on to craftsman sewing and be on our way in that regard. We're just going to kind of quickly go through and take a look and make sure that we are using the best PMs everywhere, and that we are not leaving any kind of efficiency on the table. Like, for example, wooden ships. We see that it's even price here, but wooden ships will allow us to be privately owned instead of merchant guild owned, and this is an important thing to do. It is Prussia starts off in a fairly good spot, but shopkeepers contribute less money to the investment pool relative to capitalists, and so we will generally want to move things in that direction, which is why the lathes technology at game start is so important, but Prussia starts with it. So just kind of coming back into the buildings, we are just skimming through. Notably, there are no cannons in 1.5 currently, so we're going to swap off of any cannon production, and we're going to make sure we're on free churches and secular, and we are going to not need the standardized filing systems yet, but we'll remember we can swap some up. And now we will want to swap up gas streetlights, but probably only in the 2 places we're building particularly tall, or places that have coal, and so this is kind of a local price phenomenon. If we see here, we don't have any coal here yet, but if we see in Silesia, we have quite a bit of coal, and so overall, it's not that expensive, and so coming into the urban center, we're going to swap up these. It does make a little bit of minus money, but also a change that has been implemented in 1.5 is it gives more infrastructure when you use lighting. Also, eventually, we will want to get on public trains, but we do not need railroads for the infrastructure just yet. We will eventually, but not quite at this point. And notably, we do have the 15% throughput from Krupp, which is going to be pretty nice for giving both infrastructure and as well as transportation. Alright, let's just kind of skim through. The big one that is often incorrect, or not the way you want it at the game start, is going to be, we are going to make this into the apple orchards. The big thing increased this as well, and slaughterhouses were already on it. The big one is going to almost always wrong is the fishing wharves. We want to be on fishing trawlers and also be on privately owned. Now, we don't have any fisheries just yet, but we are going to get them. Now, coming into 1.5, there has been a bit of a change where now the hardwood PM is not strictly good until we get onto pneumatic tools or mnemonic tools, and so what we want to be is we want to either focus hardwood, because notice the price of hardwood and softwood is the same, the base prices. So minus 30 softwood and plus 20 hardwood, this is inefficient. Relatively speaking, this is less inefficient, and so I think what we're going to do is we are going to look to bifurcate and have heavy production in most places, and then in our areas where we are industrializing, we are going to have less, because in particular a lot of stuff, the tools are going to use softwood, as is the construction, and so we're going to let these places produce the softwood for local prices and let the other places produce hardwood for the market. This strategy might develop a little bit, but it's important to note the hardwood PMs are inefficient until we get to pneumatic tools, which is down here, which is going to give 25% of building hardwood output. And when you have an extra 25% hardwood output, and we take a look at these buildings back here, minus 30 of this, and then plus 25. So this actually still won't be efficient because this will be 25, but this one will become net neutral after pneumatic tools on the focused hardwood production, at which point at this phase of the game you'll probably want to swap all of them to hardwood focused production, I would imagine, because generally hardwood trends to be higher, but it might not be the case for certain local economies where you in particular want a lot of softwood. Now we are going to try and import some agrarian goods, and it's important to emphasize with the changes in local prices, imports are not as effective as they once were, but we are going to import fabric from Qing. Qing is already exporting fabric to us. We're going to take a look at dyes. We don't really see too good a one. We see that Qing is spending our convoys, and so this is going to be something that we want to change up. I think we can, let's import from Qing for now, but we have to remember we want to grab Borneo, or sorry, Brunei, because it will give us an adjacency to the Qing market, because they have a subject, Lanfang, who is in the market, and so this is, Brunei is probably where we're going to go next after Zulu. Maybe we go after Transvaal or Rania, but this is kind of what our expansion plan looks like. We're going to import this from Qing. Yeah, it's looking like Qing is going to be the major source for a lot of our stuff. We are going to import this from the French, the Sicilians, and of course, Qing. And certainly, let's try Austria too. We notably can depress this price a lot. We have no supply of it ourselves, and so why don't we import from several people, and this is kind of our situation as far as importing the agrarian goods go at the very start. We're not going to run a whole bunch more routes, but we might want to start exporting stuff like steel, specifically because we have this steel production output, and when we get a new company, we're going to be in good shape for, you know, going, I think, for, you know, a little bit taller and getting the steel mills throughput, so we will have like 30% throughput on the steel mill. So we saw that our queue had auto-produced a shipyard here in Pomerania, and to my knowledge, we do not have a special bonus. Ooh, we do have a bonus in West Prussia. Okay, so we have a natural harbors bonus here in West Prussia. So what we're going to do, because local prices affect things now, we're going to also build a shipyard here in West Prussia. We're going to have it kind of towards the back of the queue, because currently we swapped to fishing trawlers. We don't have any production of this. We're going to put this on auto expand. It is on reinforced wooden ships, and what we're going to do is we're going to expand our ports here, because our ports will use clippers, and we are going to produce these clippers here, and so we are, by doing this, we're not incurring the penalty of having to ship the ships somewhere else, and instead we can consume them where we are building them. And so this is going to be, we're going to put some ports down here, and this is important because Prussia starts with very little convoys, and if you want to do kind of anything overseas, you do need a little bit more on the convoys. We maybe don't need to expand them this early, but this is something that I wanted to talk about. Also, we were going for colonial exploitation. After this, we'll probably go for racial segregation, something like this, but I just wanted to get started on the colonizing as well, and kind of explain through, you know, some of the smaller details of like this West Prussia play, where we're going to, you know, be building up. Now, we also have the shipyard here. It is what it is, and so we will probably look to increase ports here down the line at some point if we are going to have shipyards here anyways. So we currently have an engine shortage in the market in the new shipyard that was just built, and so what we're going to do is we're going to find a place that has, hey, look, Westphalia, where we're wanting to build tall anyways, we have a construction sector here. We have an opportunity now to build a pretty profitable building, and so we're going to build the motor industries here. Now, they are going to be inefficient because they are shipping over to Pomerania and West Prussia, and they're inefficient in this regard because our outputs are going to be more expensive there, and this stuff is going to be paid a little bit less in the motor industry, but we're going to set a lot of demand for engines here anyways as we build up the railroads, and also the input goods for these engines are going to be produced here locally, which is going to allow the steel mills to be more profitable, the iron and coal down the line, which goes into the steel, to be more profitable, and so overall putting these motor industries in places where we have this iron and coal together, along with the eventual move up into steel, is going to be strong, and we'll be shipping them over here. And so because we have better production chains here, we are going to be producing engines here rather than here where they are locally going to be consumed in the shipyards over here. we have hit the cap on our improved relations in a lot of spots, and so we get refunded quite a bit of influence, and so we'll just be laying more of these down. We do want to diplomatically kind of go through this with the German miners in order to make it so that overall it's relatively easy for us to form Giga Germany without any big huge wars or anything like this. Hopefully speaking, we might have to fight Austria a little bit, but this isn't going to be too big a deal. So we have added in both Silesia and Westphalia, the two places where Bildenthal, we added tooling workshop. Notably, this is going to synergize quite well with the wood and the iron, which we have been building quite a lot of, and we're up to making money again because the price of both iron and tools, or sorry, iron and wood, while it used to be quite high, has been driven down, and it is locally driven down. If we like tried to build, construction sectors somewhere else, you can see we would have to pay this more expensive iron price. And so when we come in and we go to add construction sectors, because we're making money again, and we look where's the smallest upkeep, we see that, well, I guess it's, oh wait, where's the smallest upkeep? We see Westphalia and Silesia are two of them. Now remember, Ruhr is also producing iron already, so is North Rhine, but they don't have as good rainbow looking things because down the line they won't be able to build explosives and these other industries quite as well in Silesia and Westphalia. So we're going to add two more in Silesia and one more in Westphalia, and then this will drive up the price of construction there, which will make the industries that are coming to follow, the iron mines and the logging camps and the tooling workshops, it'll make all of these more profitable kind of down the chain. We're also going after Brunei, which is going to give us an adjacency to Great Qing, which will allow us to better run trade routes into them. For the Watch of the Rhine event, we are going to take the plus relations with France, because we would prefer our pie not to be fingered. Also, notably, a very new and important mechanic was introduced in 1.5, which is partially informing the way we're expanding and why we're expanding like this, and that is the reverse sway mechanic makes it so that you can join in on wars, and so we have declared one war in the Andes, one war in South Africa, and one war in Indonesia, and the idea is we're trying to develop our native interests in various areas so that we can do other stuff down the road. We're going to put an interest in Zanj, expecting to pass colonial exploitation, but then we'll look to probably puppet someone in Arabia, something like this, so we can have a native interest there, so we can move our interest elsewhere, and by doing this, we can help to reverse sway in some future wars. We haven't had a good opportunity yet, but this is something that we're going to be looking for. Water tube boiler is a very significant tech, as it really ramps up, the efficiency of a lot of buildings. If we take a look specifically like atmospheric engine pump, 10 tools, 10 coal, and then 40 output, and this output's up by 50% with the inputs increasing in a commensurate amount, and so this is effectively making each one of these buildings like kind of worth like 50% more of a building. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but we're going to swap everything over to condensing pump engine, and we already have queued up a coal mine here that'll help keep that going. Now the coal mine I believe is queued up over here. We're going to add another one because we probably want a little bit more coal supply, but now we're going to have a greatly increased output here, and it's going to make these way more efficiency. The Intelligentsia have demands. We want them to become more powerful. In fact, I think they've probably passed into over 20%, and while they're not happy with us right now because they're insurrectionary, this is going to be nice for getting the 20% research speed bonus, in particular on nationalism, when we are about to make them happy by swapping over. Yeah, we're really about to make them happy. Now, oh, why'd you leave this racial segregation movement? Terrible. Do they not support it because they're authoritarian? We might exile this guy if they support. We're just taking a look here. I think that they'll still support our swap over to cultural or racial segregation or cultural exclusion. Maybe we do racial segregation instead, but it looks like they still support it, which is going to make them happy, and it's also going to make the rural folk happy, which is going to be big nice. Are they more happy about this, though? It looks like they are, and so maybe we try and do cultural exclusion, so we're going to reform the government. We can put them in government now, and then we'll taking them out help. It will help a little bit, but what do we have to do? Oh, we have to wait for them to get defisted. Alright. And so we will defist them. And then we will come in and we will go for cultural exclusion. This one will be, I think... I cannot recall if it's going to make a significant difference. It will make a difference in authority. Maybe we go racial segregation first. Let's see if it makes a significant difference in approval. It is going to make a pretty big difference on the rural folk, plus 10. So I think just to maybe dodge the rural folks' malice, maybe we just do this one. For now, it's going to give us less authority, but now we are getting the bonus from the Intelligentsia, and it is a doubled bonus, and so it's going to give us additional, well, not that one. It's going to give us an additional society tech research, although we will get more from, migration attraction from the subjects in our customs union currently. So we're about to increase construction again, and you can see the loop really starting to take effect. Notably, we also have increased state construction efficiency in these two states on the basis of our two edicts, so this is going to be nice. But you see, now they are the cheapest places, both the cheapest places to add additional construction. We're making some money, and so we're going to, again, just add a smattering of them. At the front of the queue here, and then continue on. Also, just like to emphasize, we are getting a ton out of our companies here, because we're basically only making wood and iron at this point in time, but now we're going to start splashing a little bit more steel and also coal mines. As the demand for wood comes up, you see that the auto expand is making this tool workshop. Sorry, as the demand for tools come up, the auto queue is going to proc this tooling workshop, which is going to, keep going, and this is going to fuel the steel, which is also heavily encouraged by what we're doing. Notably, we finished the coal mine here. It's not super profitable. That's because it's employing up. But what we're going to do here now is we were not on gas streetlights. We're going to turn them on here. And next up, we're going to kind of look to, we do have motor industry here. We don't have a lot of demand for it. We can make use of some of the railway PMs, and so we might be looking to add railways just in these two places, kind of coming up soon, to continue to rev up kind of this building tall in this area type of idea. So a little bit of a miss here. I just realized, and I was like missing this point before, we actually have a movement to enact racial segregation, so we should have done that over cultural exclusion. A little bit of a mistake. If you're playing, Prussia and you have this type of movement, definitely go for racial segregation instead. So we're gonna go after Great Qing here. It looks like the UK didn't have too much success with their initial war. I imagine a strong strategy for most GPs will be putting an interest in North China at the very start of the game and looking to reverse sway their way into the war with Great Britain in exchange for something. But here we can sway them, and we can sway them with war goals, and we could sway them with, hey, we'll open the market for you, which we would prefer the Qing market be open anyways. And so now we will have, kind of a pretty big thing. And also this prevents the UK from, siding against us. And so this will be quite a bit for us to get in on them. I think we're also going to liberate Mongolia. We see Egypt join, so now we have maybe a little bit of a decision point about, do we want to take anything from Egypt, liberate Syria, like these types of plays. I imagine we don't care too much. And this is interesting, maybe ban slavery in Egypt, not too big a deal. We could just go for war reps. Again, I'm guessing that they'll back down, so maybe we just go for war reps on Egypt in case we do have to fight it out, something like this. Egypt will mobilize more, but we're not going to focus on the war too much here because it's a little bit broken in this iteration of the 1.5 beta. So we get another back down without a fight. Had a couple of these so far this run, but very critically, we do get the Forbidden City off of Beijing. This is incredibly strong, and we also get war reparations coming in from Great Qing. Now, I think this hasn't updated, or yeah, I think this hasn't updated yet, so we should be like plus 35k. We are going to be adding more construction on the basis of this, but the main reason to take Beijing is this Forbidden City, which gives authority and legitimacy from including head of state and government. However, now there's minus throughput for being unincorporated, which is going to make it so that in general, I think it'll be strong overall to incorporate Beijing. It will take 20 years, but this will help to get rid of this throughput malice, but it is going to give us much more legitimate government, which is going to help us pass laws faster. It's going to make us very strong. Generally, you want to take this in most of your runs that you are doing. Also, we are starting to, branch out and get the full chain of the goods for construction in both of these places. We didn't have steel mills in Silesia before, now we're moving up towards it, and in Westphalia, critically, we are starting to run a little bit low on infrastructure, so at the back of the queue here, with the construction center, a coal mine, and a, steel mill all coming, we are going to put a railroad at the back of the queue to help give infrastructure, and it's also going to allow us to swap up PMs on, let's say, the urban center, which is very importantly in the form of lighting. It is helping to give us extra infrastructure to keep things going, which is why we haven't needed railroads so far, along with, the edict for the road maintenance, which is allowing us to specialize on the very, very profitable at this current point in time, because we're creating so many local demand orders for this, construction loop of, logging and iron and this sort of stuff in these two states of Silesia and Westphalia. So we have research nationalism, which means we're well on our way to forming the North German Fed. We haven't prepped it as aggressively as possible because we haven't done the Schleswig-Holstein question, instead kind of preferring to develop interests around the rest of the world, hoping for a good reverse sways. We did get tied up in a little bit of a tiff with France, but right now the war is super broken. Warfare mechanics are super broken in 1.5, so we're not going to overly sweat it, although maybe this is something that we should have tried to avoid doing. We declared a war while we had above 25 infamy. This does leave us vulnerable. We were trying to dominion Bahrain, which we are assuredly going to do, and we might end up white piecing. Hopefully we don't have to return the Rhineland. I think we'll be in okay shape here, but we will continue on our way in getting industrial grade materials. Set up steel import. I guess we'll import some steel, but then we'll cancel the import. The reason, of course, that we cancel the steel import is, one, we have 2 steel mills that are about to finish right now, and so the import's probably not going to be valuable anyways. But 2, when we are importing it, we're relying on the market price to inform stuff, and we want the local price informing stuff, or we're going to have the local price informing stuff and gaining efficiency that we cannot gain from trade alone. And so we want to, with the way the local prices work, we just definitely want to build this here ourselves, and we have it coming in. We put a couple more at the end because we might need them, but things are coming along quite well. We do have really expensive construction goods. We're going to look to decrease the price, but every time when our construction goods are expensive, that means we have wildly profitable industries, which is the case, and so we will continue on this route. We will kind of just put a smattering of these in the queue to make sure that they're expanding, because they're on auto expand, but they have to reach profitability before they expand. But overall, just building in these 2 places for now, and also now we have to keep an eye on infrastructure, but we're still in good enough shape. We are almost not in good shape in Westphalia, but currently we are. With the war system kind of being a little unpredictable, we're just going to extricate ourselves from this war without things getting a little too weird. Probably can continue on, maybe pushing for revoke claim on the Rhineland. I guess maybe we're not that far off. Maybe we push on, actually, here. Just a little bit. Okay, this actually seems like a new change from 1.4, which is that now if you get enforced below 0, but then you re-occupy the war goals, it seems like now you can no longer negative decay, so we're definitely going to stick in here and win this war here, which we should be doing pretty soon, but we'll be doing that kind of, and I'm looking around for a new one. So we've started this war to liberate both Schleswig and Holstein. You notably don't have to take control of them yourselves. You can just liberate them to kind of do the North German Fed thing, and so we will be doing that now. Russia joined against us, so it's going to be a little bit of a tricky one. Somehow we could still sway mid-war, but we have to double check. We saved before we started this war, but we see the sway is transfer Schleswig, and so if this does not liberate when we enforce, then we will be reloading to this point because we don't want to do this war and have it brick. This is kind of one of the bugginess of the open beta on 1.5, and so this is just something to keep in mind. If you are playing this on the beta kind of in an earlier state, this is going to be a thing, but we just need to release both of these from them in order to solve the Schleswig-Holstein sort of country, to make sure no non-German country controls these states. So it looks like we will be taking a load because liberate Schleswig we see is invalid after we enforce here. Maybe we can rewind a little bit and transfer Schleswig instead. We'll see exactly. No, I don't think this will work. So, we're going to have to come after it a little bit later, maybe try and improve relations with both Russia and France and this type of thing, so that hopefully they don't side or get swayed against us. So for the North German Fed, we're going to have a few holdouts in the form of Hanover and Hanover's customs union subjects. So what we're doing is we're actually going to start bankrolling these guys, both to improve relations to try and pull them in, but also if we get an obligation and we get rid of, we get all of these out from underneath, Hanover is much more likely to join our customs union after this all gets through, so we are bankrolling all of these boyos. So we finally have a bit of a chance to do a reverse sway, and we are going to reverse sway with Argentina and kind of show off this mechanic. We can offer support. Now, this mechanic is almost certainly going to get adjusted, and values are going to get adjusted, but currently the UK is trying to subjugate them. Right now, what normally happens is if we offer support, if you ask them to become a subject, for them to become a protectorate, this would actually brick the UK's war goal. However, we can't get that one, but what we can instead do is ask for this state here, which has gold in it, which is pretty nice, and then they'll turn it over to us, and then we can just capitulate, just right away. Maybe we should actually wait until the very end, because this is kind of what we get what we deserve. They put immediately in humiliate Prussia, but that's really not that big a deal. We'll just be getting the state basically for free, and then we could actually stop them from landing in on the UK or being able to push them. So we will actually station this 40 stack over here in Argentina to help prepare. And this is also what, once 1.5 gets fleshed out, this is going to be something you could do, is station troops over there. We do have this dominion here, and so we could station like a navy and troops there to begin with, and then move them around, this type of stuff, because everything's local now. But this is going to hopefully, we're going to get the state no matter what, and hopefully we can avoid getting enforced on, and then also hopefully we can enforce or protect, the integrity of the borders of Argentina, except for what we're taking, not that. Okay, so we see that we can export a ton of tools here to the Austrian market, which is going to be pretty nice because even though it's not the most productive route, it's going to make our tooling workshops more valuable. We'll be able to build them up more. We would kind of prefer a steel export, but what it's steel's not as profitable. But what it's going to do is by increasing volume of trade, in particular with the Austrian market and the loud cars outside, what it will do here, actually, let's look at the Austrian market. What this will do is it will help us to, looks like they actually do have buy orders for steel, they just have no sell orders, so maybe that stuff ramps up anyways. So we're actually going to export steel to them as well, but it's going to hopefully change their attitude towards us. We want them to not have a super negative attitude towards us. We don't want them to have a positive attitude, because then we can't fight them for leadership later on, but what we want is kind of to float that middle ground where kind of down the road we can get an obligation from them, pull them into our customs union, improve relations with them, and sort of diplomatically coax them in, which is we're going to do through the reverse sway mechanic, which we have shown. Also, notably, really nice about this is now gives us, this one province is giving us a native interest here, which is super nice, because now we can declare interests elsewhere, and you can see we have acquired native interests throughout this total episode in the Andes, Brazil, La Plata, South Africa, Arabia, North India, Indonesia, and North China, which is going to allow us to kind of keep our eye on more diplomatic plays. And of course, we are trying to push in here. We for this, we need to designate a strategic objective, because it's kind of bugged, they won't push without one, but it's looking like we're in good shape to help protect Argentina here, and in return for this protection, we are getting a gold mine, which of course we will make sure we have on the better PMs, and also crank up, assuming that the, we don't even have turmoil here, so yeah, we'll put these at the front of the queue and kind of just blast off. Gold is really, really good in 1.5 especially. I think it's improved quite a bit. I have to do some math on it and check something. So here we have kind of reached a bit of an inflection point, which is that we are building our final construction centers in Westphalia and Silesia, and we have really ramped up and built tall here, largely to the benefit of like the early construction loop, where we are kind of building all the same thing: tools for the tools for the mines and wood, mines and wood for the construction, which has helped facilitate everything, and steel for the tools. This is the central like loop. We have the same loop over here, and we've like ramped up in this regard. In particular, Prussia has the very nice Krupp kind of company, which the other iron company doesn't compare. It's iron and lead, and with this we are getting increased construction and throughput on, the much preferable coal mines and steel mills, as well as getting the railway throughput. We've turned on the railway throughput elsewhere. I think that looks like they are about done with this war. We would accept this. We're fine with this. We're fine with not being humiliated, as it were, so that'll kind of tidy that up. And I think with that, we will be concluding the episode. Now, I really wanted to form the North German Fed, but we do got to solve the Schleswig-Holstein question, and we couldn't before. We are improving relations now with France and Russia, hoping that kind of no one with an interest in this area thumbs our pie when we go for releasing them later. This is kind of a workaround for like 1.5. I assume this won't be bugged later, but as far as the customs union goes, all these guys are in our customs union, so they will all likely support us. And so when we form the North German Fed, we'll get all of this basically, except for the southern ones, which I think are ineligible. Except we have to work on Hanover a little bit, which is why we're bankrolling them, hoping to eventually get to the point where we could invite them to the customs union. If we had an obligation, we would get plus 50 on this, and so we would be able to invite them, and as soon as they're in, we'll be able to get the other guys in. And so this is kind of what we'll be doing. We will be continuing. I suppose we just want to unpause and maybe take a little bit of a crank. That way we get up to 200 construction even, which is going to be pretty nice on the back of all this. And also, just look at the profitability of all these industries, except for the lead mine. It's all very, very, very strong, and we are getting that because we are not shipping products from one area to another. Instead, we are, you know, avoiding the negatives. If we take a look at the balance for a lot of these things, the lead mines, the unprofitable thing, we're producing a ton, but we're not using any here, which causes the price to become depressed relative to the market price. And you can see here, this is what's going on. However, we are consuming more than we're producing, but it's not like a plus 75. We're more efficient on this iron here. Same thing, relatively close to even buy and sell orders here with the wood. And so we have a price that resembles the market price. And so we're not eating inefficiency due to using local prices over market prices. And you can see this like kind of all throughout, you know, the very significant chain of like coal, iron, and then let's see, coal, iron, you know, wood, where's tools? Tools, we don't look at tools. I guess we're way overproducing tools here. So that's, or are we way over consuming tools? Hold a tick. So the local, we're way over consuming tools. Tools will be really profitable, but I suppose part of this might actually be due to us having, you know, the steel mills and the mines and the wood. Just these buildings are still so efficient despite tools being expensive. Like if you look at the tools productivity versus these productivity, and these build faster, this type of thing, despite that, it's still going to be really good. This company is just so good for popping off early, and I think it's just kind of useful to feature. Now, just want to emphasize very quickly, it's not best for us to, you know, stay on this United Forestry conglomerate with the current state of 1.5 right now, but I'm assuming they're going to fix it. What's best is to disband after we've finished producing a bunch of chops, and then instead pick up a different company while we're producing other things. So, for example, or even go metal mining consortium for the extra steel mine throughput plus the extra iron mines, you know, throughput on those as well. Something like this, or, you know, even going the one for tools, so we get the tools throughput and the construction bonus on tools, and then we push the tools. This is probably the one where we go next if we had another one, but I digress. We are going to conclude the episode here. I hope you enjoyed. This has been kind of how to start Prussia with considerations of the new company's mechanic, the new local kind of build-up mechanic, and then finally, you know, our expansion plan, which has been sensitive to the new reverse sway mechanic, where what we are trying kind of very actively to do is acquire native interests in a lot of different areas, and we have sought out a native interest in the Andes, Brazil, La Plata, South Africa, Indonesia, North China, North India, and Arabia. Specifically, this is why we didn't immediately go after Orania or Transvaal, which are otherwise very nice states to take, although this is probably on the docket for next time. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and other than that, have a good day.